Yeah, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. What a clown show we are all experiencing together. This election is, we all know, we've all made the complaint. You've made the complaint. I've made the complaint. Your neighbors made the complaint. Coworkers made the complaint. This is silly season. This is when it gets really out of control. This is when the hyperbole kicks in and everyone's going to say, this is the most important election of all time. And there are countries at stake. And it's the same garbage they say every election. This one, still weirder than normal. Still just a flaming hot dumpster fire full of garbage. To help me make some sense of it, we actually have a representative from the Trump campaign on the James Show. No, I'm not talking about your uncle who leaves posts on Facebook. This is Carolyn Levitt from the Trump campaign, the national press secretary. Welcome to the James Show.
Hey, James, thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. And we just want to express our sincere apologies to your wonderful audience since Joe Biden is going to be in your city of Dallas tonight. So from us to you, we're sorry to hear that.
Yeah, part of me always respectful for the historic nature anytime a president comes and visits your town. But when he's not on your team, it kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it. Plus, it's going to lock up a bunch of traffic. But he's coming down here today in Dallas and Houston, not to have rallies, but to hold fundraisers. That's not going to resonate with the people of Texas, is it?
I don't think it will. And I wish that Joe Biden would host a rally or an event in which he actually lays out some solutions to fix the problems that the great state of Texas is facing, namely the border crisis, which Joe Biden himself has created. He was handed the most secure border in American history by President Trump, and with the swipe of a pen on day one, undid many of the very effective Trump policies, and Texas has been on the front lines of this invasion that we've seen over the past 3.5 years. Now, God bless the United States Supreme Court for ruling in the favor of your state and local law enforcement. Now they'll actually be able to do their jobs on the ground in arresting illegal criminals that are in your communities. But this invasion has gone on for far too long. Biden has the executive authority he needs to shut down the border and protect Texans and all Americans. But unfortunately, he refuses to do that.
Carolyn Levitt from the Trump campaign, how much of a concern is it for y'all that every dollar that he has to spend defending himself against these charges and every day, every hour that he has to spend in court or preparing to deal with these cases is a day and a dollar away from his campaign? How much tougher does it make it for you guys to have a campaign while all these cases are going on?
Well, look, it's certainly not ideal. I mean, this is exactly what the Democrats wanted, though. They want President Trump to be in a courtroom rather than on the campaign trail, because when he's out there hosting rallies like Joe Biden doesn't, there's thousands of people in attendance every single time. And President Trump relays his vision for America, for the future, which is peace and security and safety. It's a winning message. And Joe Biden and the Democrats don't want him to be able to push that winning message to millions of voters across the country. They want him in a courtroom. However, President Trump has maintained the best legal team in the business, and they are fighting every single one of these cases from Fulton County, Georgia, to New York City, tooth and nail. And there's a lot of truths that are being revealed in every single one of these cases. And frankly, it has just shown the lengths to which the Democrat Party is willing to go in order to defeat their opponent. And what we're seeing in New York, what we've seen in Georgia and out of Washington, D.C. as well, is un-American. It's a travesty of justice. Laws are being bent. The rules are being pushed to the limit. And the court system is really being abused in order to prosecute President Trump. So he is more determined than ever, though, to continue to fight. We'll fight for truth in the courtroom. He'll continue to fight to earn votes in the campaign trail. And we're very hopeful that Americans see through a lot of this noise and remember that their lives were better under President Trump's leadership for so many reasons. And that's what matters when you're voting on November 5th.
Yeah, but Carolyn Levitt, we want the Trump campaign not to be assembling the greatest legal team ever to fight these cases. We want the greatest legal team and all these lawyers to be in these polling places in case somebody tries to stop counting on Election Day again this time around. We don't want to see that again. We don't want to see windows being blocked. We don't want to see lights being turned off, and we don't want to see the blackout. Do y'all have some sort of task force to deal with that?
We do, and thank you for asking, James, because this is the utmost priority for our political team as well. And we've now joined forces with the Republican National Committee. We have great new leadership there in Laura Trump and Michael Whatley, who are both hot on the issue of election integrity, and we are playing offense on this. We understand fully what happened in 2020. President Trump has been at the forefront of exposing the irregularities and fraud that we saw in states across this country. And so the RNC is combined with our campaign team. We are deploying troops on the ground now. We are training volunteers now to go to the polls, especially in these key battleground states, in key counties like Wayne County in Pennsylvania, for instance, Maricopa County in Arizona, Fulton County in Georgia. The places in which we know Democrats used a lot of shenanigans to their advantage in the last election, we will be there on the ground ahead of time, helping to administer these local elections to ensure that the fraud cannot happen. So we're not playing defense in the courts trying to get judges to overturn fraudulent ballots. That's not how we're going to win. We're going to win by ensuring election integrity ahead of November 5th. And a large part of that, too, is also educating voters on the rules of the game in their state. And I know as Republicans, we all wish there was just one day of voting, paper ballots, no machines. But unfortunately, that's not the reality. That's not the cards we've been giving. We have to play with the cards we've been dealt. And if early voting is allowed in your state, we are going to be sending a very strong message, as we did throughout the primary, by the way, that you should get out and vote early. You don't know what could happen on Election Day. You could get sick. You could fall ill. You could have a family emergency. So get out there, vote early, cast your vote. And we think that will be tremendously helpful in ensuring election integrity as well.
All right, Carolyn Levitt from the Trump campaign, thank you very much for being on the James Show. And because I asked such relevant, intelligent, good questions, when Trump wants to be on radio in Dallas again, put him on my show, not like on the morning show or on Casey's show or anything. The James Parker Show. James Parker, just remember that.
Hey, we got you, James. Thank you so very much for having us. We'll be back.
All right, that's Carolyn Levitt from the Trump campaign. Coming up next, one of the things she talked about, SB4, it actually got put back on hold while we were all sleeping last night. And I'm going to talk about this seesaw that's gone back and forth. SB4, it's passed, it's enacted. Oh, no, now it's been put on a stay. Now the Supreme Court said it can be enforced again. And then last night, some other court just came and put it on hold. There's an emergency meeting today. Details coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, it's a big day for Dallas and really the whole area because the president's coming to town, and even if you hate his guts, it's still kind of cool that the president's visiting. And historically speaking, we all have a respect for the office of the president, even if the guy's on the other team. But this is more of a pragmatic, I'm not telling you about some glorious moment in history, as I am telling you traffic is going to be awful for some people tonight. This plane is expected to land around 5:15 at DFW International. Now, sometimes when the president comes here and he lands at Love Field, we get locked down bad in downtown. Here's something else I've learned being in talk radio for almost 22 years now and being a part of these presidential visits and having to pay attention to them. They've got some device to where sometimes when you're near where the president is driving by, your cell phone stops working. Yeah, that they don't really publicize that I know of, but that's just something that other people have experienced. And really, not every trip. I don't know if I just haven't been close enough, but I've never had it happen to me. And I've actually had him drive. I was like 3 stories up in a building that was like a block away, and my phone didn't go out. But I've heard from plenty of other people. And it's not that you're going to be stuck there all night. He's going to come in town. He's going to go to 2 different fundraisers, and I don't know where they're at. It's not open to the public. It's not anything where he's going to give a speech and it's going to be on CNN and Fox News tonight. These are private fundraisers. He's going to do a couple of these, and then I think he's going to bounce, but he's going to go to Houston tomorrow. So I don't know. Is he going to stay at like the Marriott or maybe the Westin and the Galleria or something and then just go to Houston? No. That's weird, man. If you're the president of the United States, everywhere is a day trip. You want to go to San Francisco? Fine. You just get on a plane. You got your own plane. You go all the way across the country. You do your thing in San Francisco. And you don't like get back in your Toyota Camry and drive home. You get back in your airplane and fly home. Like everywhere, the whole country's a day trip. Things that you and I talk about, like trips we want to take that were like, I haven't been on a vacation in 5 years and we're going to go see the Mount Rushmore, the Black Hills Mountains or whatever of South Dakota. This is something you dream about, something once you do every once in a while. This is just, what's today? Wednesday? This is a regular Wednesday for the president. I'm just going to go to Dallas, a couple fundraisers, get the heck out of here. But what that means to us is we're going to be really cramped up, and more so in the Dallas area. Just remember, the people I'm really concerned about are the people that are trying to get to the big Texas Independence Jam tonight at Billy Bob's, our sister station, KSCS and the Wolf. This is the biggest event of the year for them, and I just don't want you to get all caught up if you're trying to go to Billy Bob's in this traffic. Give yourself a little extra time. Remember, he doesn't land until 5:15. So if you can already get there before that stuff gets all locked down, you'll be good to go. And then go say hi to some of my coworkers and buddies over there at the Texas Independence Jam at Billy Bob's tonight. All right, back to the news. SB4 back on hold. I don't know if that's breaking news because it happened in the middle of the night last night. This is the law that allows Texas police to arrest illegal immigrants suspected of illegally crossing the border. And, of course, it's being called racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, whatever. It's just the worst thing ever. It's from Dante's Third Level of Hell. We got it. We heard all the hyperbole. But it passed and was supposed to go into effect in, I think it was December. Then a court put it on hold while the lawsuits challenging the constitutionality of the law were being decided by the lower courts. Supreme Court came back a couple days ago and said, no, you can go ahead and start enforcing it. We'll just let this whole thing expire. And then in the middle of the night, the last night, the Fifth Circuit Court popped up and they slapped it back down. They put it on hold again. I know that's kind of a haphazard explanation of it. But let me, WFAA, our sister station, our news partner, did a better job explaining this.
News this morning. In a late night decision, a Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals issued a decision to block Texas from enforcing its strict immigration law. Chris Sadeghi joins us from the Breaking News Center with more on what we've actually learned since he actually went to bed. Chris, this decision, it truly just came hours ago. It's a surprise to many.
And it's been a game of legal pinball over the last 24 hours or so. But as we do wake up this morning, SB4 is off again after being reinstated for a few hours. It was early Tuesday afternoon. The Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that the law could be enforced. This is the law that allows police in Texas to arrest people that they suspect crossed the border illegally. But the SCOTUS decision was more about sending SB4 back to the appeals process so that an appellate court can make the ruling first. Then that would give way for the Supreme Court to make the ultimate ruling about SB4's constitutionality. So a lot of legal maneuvering, as you can tell. But late last night, the appeals court did put the law back on hold, at least until they could hear arguments today. We spoke with members on both sides of the Texas House about the on-again, off-again law.
Yeah, and their reporting on that's pretty solid. Thank you, WFAA. I don't think they politically line up with you or me 100%. But that was nice and balanced. They also gave me a little more detail. This is some stuff that I was kind of looking for details like this on who exactly is exempted in SB4. So when you hear the complaints like, oh, this is going to target people unfairly, well, I don't know. There's a whole lot of exemptions written into this bill.
Now, if Senate Bill 4 takes effect again, there are a lot of questions still about who can be arrested. So we wanted to verify what we know. The bill allows police to question and arrest anyone they believe has entered Texas illegally, but the law cannot be enforced against people lawfully present in the U.S., including those who are granted asylum and who are enrolled in DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. Now, the law also says that SB4 can be enforced in any of the state's 254 counties, including those hundreds of miles from the border. Now, some places are supposed to be off limits, like public and private schools, places of worship, healthcare facilities, and facilities that provide forensic medical exams to sexual assault survivors.
Oh, my God. So if you are not any of those categories and you are here illegally and you're already doing something suspicious, then maybe police can ask you questions that could lead to an arrest of you being here illegally. And they're talking about how, whoa, they're just going to be hunting down brown people for sport, basically. It's ridiculous. And if you want to hear some of the criticism of this, I'll play it for you and then I'll answer it. And it's exactly what you think. This is so mean. With no mention of, well, is this going to protect citizens better? Is this going to, put a wet blanket on some of the chaos that's coming over the border? Is this going to make our neighborhood safer? Is this going to make our neighborhood businesses more efficient? Is this going to lighten the load on our social services and on our taxpayers? None of that is in the criticism or mentioned in the pros and cons. It's just, this is what Hitler would do. You'll hear it yourself coming up next. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I like how thorough we are. We put sources in commercials. This is the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Oh, good to see you too. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. So SB4 is back off the table. And look, don't get settled too much here. You know, it was passed and it was enacted, and then the court put a stay on it, and then the Supreme Court unlocked the stay earlier this week. And then overnight last night, while I was sleeping, when you were sleeping, hopefully, it got turned back off. So the stay's on again. However, there's an emergency meeting happening right now, today, in New Orleans, of all places. And it might be turned right back on before the end of the show. If it is, I will let you know. But for those of you who don't know SB4, it is the law that says Texas law enforcement can arrest people for immigration, for being here illegally. Usually, if they can arrest them for some other reason, and then we find out that they're here illegally, you can turn them over to federal authorities, and then they'll run them through their system, and they're supposed to deport them, but that hadn't been the case. And there's been a lot of times where you go to turn them over to ICE, and ICE doesn't come pick them up, so they just get released in the street. That's where a lot of these murders and stuff, they get passed around on your social media feed, like so-and-so, the real bloodbath is the illegal immigration crime. But in this case, SB4 is something that is, the criticism is suspect on this, I should say. Let me play you some of it. What I have here is Trey Martinez. He is a Texas state representative, and he does not like SB4. Why? I'll let him tell you yourself.
Anytime you put a target on the back of people, whether it's the color of their skin, who they love, where their zip code is, I mean, that is not who we are as Texas. If you look at our state motto, it's we're the friendly state. Right now, we are sort of becoming the show me your paper state.
Yeah, that really kind of rubs me the wrong way. We're the show me your paper state. Yikes. Let me tell you something. No one, not one person who supported vaccine mandates, not one person who forced you, or at least supported the idea of forcing you to show a vaccine card to go to a restaurant or get on a plane or even keep your job, can ever make this argument again. I mean, just look at your regular life without even the COVID stuff. Oh, you're worried about illegals having to show their papers. Look, you have to get I'm talking to you, guy listening. You have to get a registration sticker for your car every single year. You have to get that little sticker. You have to put it on your plate. You have to get a printout of your current car insurance every 6 months. Make sure that sucker's up to date. You have to have a license in your wallet. You have to make sure that sucker's up to date. Your car has to have a physical metal license plate on it, and it can't be the old one with the space shuttle on it. It's got to be up to date. Every single visible light on your car has to be in proper working order in order for you to just go around the corner to get a Mountain Dew. But God forbid if we ask anything of foreigners in our country illegally. Oh, we don't want to have people to show their papers. Well, then take away my papers and you might have that argument. Look at all the papers you have to just to survive, just to go to work and pay taxes. And they're worried about, oh, well, we don't want to be, show me your papers state. You kidding? I got to show my papers to get a can of spray paint. And the discrimination argument I find just absolutely adorable, because this is what Evan Sayet talks about, and he's going to be on the show later on. But this is one of the things I love about his philosophy in his book, and if you ever get it and digest it, it's a quick read, but you won't be frustrated by this anymore, because discrimination, the real word discrimination, just means judgment, period. Now, what they have done is they've talked about racial discrimination and all these other discriminations based on immutable traits that people can't control. And if you discriminate against someone for those reasons, you're a bad person. But that doesn't make all discrimination bad. Yes, racial discrimination is bad, but not all discrimination is bad. Whether or not you let pedophiles work at the local daycare, that is discrimination, but that's not a bad kind. Not all discrimination is bad. And so when you see the quotes, I was playing, who was that? I was playing from MSNBC yesterday. Like, there's no way you can enforce this without discriminating against people. Well, yeah, that's all right. I mean, but we can do it without violating their human rights. I mean, do we not have the ability to enforce immigration law just because someone might feel like someone else is being discriminated against? How on earth do you enforce immigration laws without running the risk of discriminating against someone based on their nationality? See, and that's the rhetorical little trick there. That's the interesting part. How can you be offended that immigration law may be used to target foreigners? It's supposed to target foreigners. That's not a feature. That's a feature, not a flaw. In fact, immigration law only has one job: discriminate against foreigners. Studio audience, am I right? Thank you. I mean, is it that obvious to everybody else? Because this is like the reason I say, if you think men can have babies, and I really disregard your opinion on basically anything, because you're sold down the river. You will be the person that says the emperor has clothes on when clearly the emperor has no clothes. Men can't have babies. Immigration law is intended to discriminate against foreigners, not in a bad way, not that violates their civil rights, not that's racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe. I love how he ropes those other ones in there, like, well, no one should be discriminated against based on the color of their skin or who they love. No one's pulling over gay people and asking for papers. What race exactly are foreign nationals? Let's see. Oh, that's right. Every race under the sun. I mean, there are reasonable things that you could discriminate. And remember, not all discrimination is bad. If someone doesn't have the ability to speak English, that might be a sign that they're not a citizen. Now, that's not the only thing you can use, but that's like a critical piece of evidence. What are you supposed to do? When you pull someone over, just turn off your brain? I don't see any evidence of anything wrong as far as immigration goes. But if you get one little tiny whiff of a joint, then all of a sudden you can take this guy out and cuff him, bring in the dogs, go through everything he has. He has to show his papers. So I thought this was really obvious how bad the criticism is. And again, this is the same thing I was saying about like the bloodbath comments. It's not that the media twists this. It's not that MSNBC goes out and spins this in a way that does not match reality. It's that half of the country doesn't see through this. Half of your friends don't see through this. A lot of you have liberal mamas that don't see through this. But it's adorable here because, you can compare this to how they treat sanctuary cities. It's just the opposite. Sanctuary cities prove that the federal government's okay with you ignoring federal law at all times. Some federal laws, you can just ignore them at all times. But this Texas law proves that the federal government is not okay if you enforce laws that they ignore. That is not the best way to arrange society. All right, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this? The law was active, then put on hold, then it was active again. Now it's put on hold again. We might find out before the end of the show sometime today that we can enforce it again. It's a seesaw going back and forth. But is it racist? Is it violating anyone's civil rights to suspect that they may be here illegally? I mean, is there any way that we can enforce immigration law without discriminating against someone based on their nationality? Isn't that literally what all immigration law is? 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome back to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. This is a weird game of red light, green light that we have going on in the Lone Star State. As when the state of Texas passed its own law, SB4, that allows Texas law enforcement to enforce federal immigration law to detain illegal immigrants and maybe even, oh my gosh, deport them. It went into effect and it was put on hold, and the Supreme Court said it go into effect, got put on hold again last night. And I'm watching the TVs and doing Google searches on the breaks here to see if we get a result from the meeting that's happening right now, Fifth Circuit Court down in New Orleans, see if we can do anything about these people that come into our country that the federal government is ignoring. Let's go to the phones real quick. I hadn't taken any calls yet. George in Fort Worth, you're on The James Show. What do you think about this situation?
Well, I think that HB4 is definitely a legal law. It should be constitutional. And the Supreme Court has betrayed us again by passing this down to a lower court in Louisiana, of all places. I mean, why is Louisiana deciding what Texas can do and what the nation can do? The Supreme Court are nothing but traitors if they don't approve this law right away.
Yeah, I hear in your voice like you're upset about this, George. What's got you so upset?
I'm extremely upset because I've read data that is being suppressed constantly on the internet that over 70% of illegal immigrants are on at least one form of welfare. I mean, that was supposed to be a leg up, not a lifestyle, and they're making that a lifestyle. Biden is nothing short of a traitor.
I hear you, George.
He's betraying the citizens of the United States.
All right,
and that's how I think that's how the vast majority of Americans, most Americans, feel about it.
We're letting it happen, George. We're letting all this stuff happen. We let all the COVID lockdowns happen. We're letting all of them get away with it. We're letting Born be in the kids' libraries. I mean, we're letting all this happen.
Yeah, this has been ongoing for many, many years. This was a mild problem when even the Republican presidents were in there before Trump. Like Reagan and the Bushes. They didn't do anything about illegal immigration either.
Well, you know what
the Democrats were.
It's going to get if they don't stop this, it's not going to go well, because here's what's going to happen next through my reading of history is that when it gets bad enough, the citizens, the people here in Texas and America themselves will do the Minutemen thing where we come up with our own militias, with our own guns and our own transportation. And we take our own butts down there and we do the job that the government is refusing to do. Not only are they not doing it, they are preventing state jurisdictions from doing it. Oh, it'll get taken care of. But if they don't do it this way, they're not going to like the alternative, because we're not the type of people that are just going to sit back and let ourselves be just slowly wiped out. So I know that doesn't make you feel any better. That's just my read on it. Ken in Arlington, you're next up on the James Show. What do you think, sir?
Hey, if the residents have a stand your ground law, how come the state doesn't have a stand your ground law against foreign invaders?
So the argument against that is federal immigration between not states but other countries is strictly the purview of the federal government, and we don't have the right to enforce their laws. They are the ones that are responsible for enforcing their laws the way they see fit. Now, necessarily, I don't agree with that, but if that is their argument, the next step would be, Ken, the only way we would be able to secure our borders is to then secede.
Well, but then, okay, then let's take it back this way. Can't the landowners along the border use the stand your ground law?
Yeah, you can start shooting at illegal immigrants. Cool. The cartel wipes people out that do that.
Because, I mean, what they're doing, they're defending their property against foreign invaders. I mean, it's not the state. It's a private individual defending his property.
See, I don't have an argument against that morally or pragmatically, other than the fact that we need more people down there doing that. It can't just be random farmers on the border. One guy with the gun's not going to stop a wave coming over. We're going to have to come up with a militia. If they're not going to do this themselves, we saw what it looked like. It was the Minutemen. It looked all right. There was no rash of violence. There was no shooting gallery. It wasn't a, dare I say, bloodbath. Oh, no, not a bloodbath. But no.
But then if this happens, if the Minutemen goes down there on the private property of an invitation of the landowner, couldn't they be held responsible for killing somebody because it's not their property?
Wait, who would be held responsible? The Minutemen?
Yeah, let's just say...
dude, why are you asking me? I'm not a lawyer, but I would think if you're invited there by the people who own the ranch and you're not just randomly going on ranches and squeezing off rounds at invaders, I'm sure there's some sort of legal way that could be done. Sort of stand your... the thing that comes to mind is the Joe Horn case in Houston. That guy 10 years ago saw the illegal immigrants robbing his house. He's on 911. He's like, you better send somebody. I got a shotgun here, buddy. I'm not going to let him get away with it. And you heard him shoot him. He got off. So you're right. Texas law would be pretty lenient when it comes to enforcing not just your own property, but your neighbor's property.
Well, then I guess that's what the citizens need to do, is stand up.
That's if they're not going to do it at some point, that's how it's going to have to be. Totally agree, Ken in Arlington. All right, thank you very much. We have an evening with the Pretenders. The U.S. Tour 2024 comes to the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory Tuesday, August 6th. Tickets go on sale this Friday, 10 a.m., Ticketmaster.com for all you Pretenders fans out there. You can also head over to the WBAP.com contest page. Register now for your chance to win tickets to see the Pretenders August 6th, the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory. This is The James Show. Be right back. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.